Tihei said she was just the janitor. A quiet, middle-aged black woman who mopped the same hangar floor for 8 years without a fuss. Nobody paid her any mind. Just the woman with the limp, the faded overalls, and the head always bowed. Until the day a jet went down midair and the base commander barked one name. Her real name, and the entire airbase turned to look at her. Subscribe to Silent Stories for more real, raw, and powerful tales that you won't forget. It was 5:13 a.m. when Dolores Hayes stepped into Hangar C, keys jingling from her belt, mop in one hand and a thermos of black coffee in the other. The hangar's steel bones groaned in the cold as the wind howled off the Atlantic. She did what she always did. Started from the left side and worked her way across the smooth cement, humming Sam Cooke under her breath. Most of the pilots never showed before 0600, and if they did, they barely noticed her. Except this morning, something was off. The base buzzed louder than usual. Low voices clipped with urgency. Radios crackled. And above all, an eerie absence of birds in the early light. Dolores's mop paused mid-sweep. She turned toward the far door as it burst open. 2 men in fatigues rushed in. One of them, young Airman Casey, pale and wide-eyed, clutching a radio. She went down. F-35, offshore. 3 clicks out. Dolores froze. The second man, Commander Rickson, stormed past him. We lost comms. Pilot ejected but hasn't been located. Air controls blind. Raptor 1 and 2 are grounded for diagnostics. Who's left on standby? Lieutenant Maxwell's still under review, sir, Casey stammered. Rickson snarled. We've got a bird down and no one in the air. God help us. Then came the words. What about? Nightshade, came from another voice, deep, deliberate. Colonel Grant had entered behind them, his sharp eyes scanning the hangar before landing squarely on Dolores. She's still here. Casey blinked. Nightshade? That's just the janitor. Colonel Grant didn't smile. That janitor has 3 confirmed combat recoveries and over 2,000 flight hours. She flew Ghost Echo off Kandahar, broke formation under fire to save a downed wingman, and then disappeared. Rickson turned, following Grant's gaze. Dolores stood like a shadow etched into the morning light, her face unreadable, hands tightening around the mop. He blinked. That's impossible. Nightshade's dead. Dolores exhaled slowly, stepping forward. Her limp suddenly looked more like the swagger of someone who knew what steel felt like under fire. She was, she said. Her voice was gravel. But today's not about ghosts. Where's the damn plane? That was how it began. The control room was chaos. Sirens pinged, coordinates streamed down screens, and technicians shouted into headsets. The pilot had ejected 30 miles east of the coast, somewhere over freezing waters choked with wind shear. Rickson paced like a caged animal. We've got 10 minutes before search and rescue launches blind. If she's bleeding or unconscious, every second counts. Dolores stood in the locker room, peeling out of her janitor uniform with mechanical grace. Beneath it, sealed in plastic for years, was her flight suit, black, stitched with a faded squadron patch. Her helmet, untouched since Afghanistan, gleamed like a dormant weapon. Colonel Grant entered, holding a small black case. Wordlessly, he opened it. Inside, her old dog tags. She took them. Her hands trembled only slightly. Why'd you stay gone? He asked. She didn't look up. Because I stopped believing I was worth finding. Then she shut the locker and walked to the tarmac. Every step Dolores took toward the F-16 felt like a countdown ticking in reverse. The mechanics stopped talking. Pilots emerged from barracks, word traveling like wildfire. Is that her? No way. That's the cleaning lady. That's Nightshade, dumbass. My brother flew with her in 13. Said she could outturn a missile. Inside the cockpit, her fingers moved like they'd never left. Systems check. Nav online. HUD clear. Engines primed. Then came the voice. Tower to Nightshade. You're cleared hot. Find her. Dolores didn't respond. She just smiled. The F-16 roared off the tarmac like it had waited 8 years for her return. Winds battered the jet as she climbed. Below, the ocean churned like a living beast. She tuned into the emergency frequency. Mayday. This is Lieutenant Reese. Ejected. Bleeding, cold, can't see. Dolores zeroed in on the beacon. Her hands flew across the controls, adjusting pitch and trim with surgical precision. Lieutenant Reese, this is Nightshade. I've got you. Pop your flare. A pause. Then a faint hiss through static. You're a myth. Dolores's voice cracked through. And yet here I am. Light the damn flare. A bloom of red burst across the waves. She banked hard, descending with impossible precision. A single shot at a visual mark. Reese clung to a floating panel, pale, her life vest failing. Dolores hit the comm rescue team. Mark my coordinates. Target in sight. As she circled, another jet blipped the radar. Unidentified. Fast. Nightshade, be advised. Came the tower. Unknown craft entering your airspace. Possibly hostile. Repeat. Possibly hostile. She didn't flinch. Tell them they're late. I already found her. The other blip closed in. No transponder. No call sign. Dolores snapped her visor down. The years fell away. Just her. The sky. And the hunter's thrill of the unknown. Looks like someone's been watching from the shadows, she muttered. And Dove. The contact was fast and deliberate. Russian airframe, low radar cross-section, old-school maneuvers. Whoever was in the other jet wasn't here for fun. They buzzed her tail once, then again, taunting. Predators pass. Dolores ignored the rage in her chest and kept her eyes on Reese. Rescue wouldn't be there for minutes. Reese didn't have minutes. Dolores made a decision that would have gotten her court-martialed in peacetime. She rolled hard, slingshotting above the rogue fighter and kicking chaff behind her to mislead any tracking. It worked. The enemy peeled left, likely confused by the old countermeasure trick. While he realigned, she went for the rescue. Dolores dropped to a suicidal altitude, no more than 70 feet over the waves, skimming the water like a shadow. Reese's life vest was flashing weakly now, one arm limp. Dolores hit the eject panel on her emergency pod. It shot out a flotation device with a tether and a beacon transponder. All she needed was for Reese to grab it. But the girl didn't. She was fading. Come on. Come on. You don't get to die today, Dolores whispered, tipping the nose down to drop a few meters closer. She triggered the comm. Reese. Reach up and grab it. Use your damn training. A twitch. The pilot's hand lifted. Weak. Struggling. Dolores knew the signs: hypothermia, blood loss, and fear. But somehow, maybe it was instinct, maybe it was her voice. Reese managed to grasp the line. The beacon switched to green. Dolores pulled up hard, just in time for the rogue jet to loop back. Came in fast. No greetings. No warnings. Just a missile lock. Shit! She muttered and rolled. The missile streaked toward her tail. She pulled into a climb, fired chaff, banked left, hit max thrust. Her vision blurred from G-force, but her fingers danced like a symphony conductor. The jet groaned but obeyed. The missile missed. The rogue fighter surged ahead, trying to get above her. Classic mistake. Dolores cut speed mid-climb, letting the other jet overshoot, then dipped beneath him and locked target. I don't know who you are, she muttered into the static, but you should have stayed in the shadows. Her thumb hovered over the trigger, but she didn't fire. Instead, she patched a new frequency, one only high-clearance pilots used in Black Ops. You're in restricted airspace. Identify or get the hell out. Static. Then silence. The rogue jet dipped its wings, peeled off, and vanished westward. She stared for a long second, watching its silhouette vanish into the haze. Then she turned back to the sea, breathing hard. Rescue, you've got the beacon. Package secure. I'm RTB. Copy that, Nightshade. Stand down. We've got her. Dolores leaned back in her seat and smiled. They said she was just the janitor. A quiet, middle-aged black woman who mopped the same hangar floor for 8 years without a fuss. Nobody paid her any mind. Just the woman with the limp, the faded overalls, and the head always bowed. Until the day a jet went down midair and the base commander barked one name. Her real name, and the entire airbase turned to look at her. Subscribe to Silent Stories for more real, raw, and powerful tales that you won't forget. The silence inside the debriefing room was thicker than engine grease. Dolores sat alone at the center table, the black flight suit clinging to her like war paint. A single strip of light buzzed above her head, flickering occasionally. The brass had made her wait nearly an hour. It wasn't just protocol. It was a power play. Let the ghost pilots do. Make her sweat. But Dolores didn't sweat anymore. Not for them. Not for this. Finally, the door hissed open and in walked General Hardin. Silver hair, razor-creased uniform, and a presence that made rooms stand at attention. 2 aides followed behind, but they didn't matter. Only Hardin did. "Ms. Hayes," he said without sitting. "Or do you prefer Captain?" "Your call, sir," she said calmly. "I just saved one of your best from drowning. I'll answer to whichever you find more useful." A flicker of amusement crossed his lips, gone as quickly as it came. He opened a file mostly for show. They all knew what was in it. Her record, her medals, her court-martial. "You're not supposed to be flying. Neither was that bird supposed to go down." Hardin closed the file. "You interfered in an active military response and prevented a death. We don't tolerate ghosts in this command. Nightshade." She leaned forward. "Then maybe stop burying the ones you still need." The aides shifted uncomfortably. Hardin didn't flinch. For a long moment, there was only the hum of fluorescent light. "There was a second craft in your airspace," he said at last. "Unknown origin. You didn't fire." "Correct. Why not?" "Because they weren't here to fight. They were watching, testing response time, tracking protocol." Hardin narrowed his eyes. "So you think this was staged?" "I think someone knew exactly when to show up and exactly who to provoke." The general sat down now, slowly, as if weighing something far heavier than paperwork. "We ran scans on the airframe. Russian design but with tech we haven't seen. Stealth signature was advanced. We believe it was a private contractor. Possibly rogue. Possibly worse." "You think it's connected to Ghost Echo?" she asked, and the air thickened with the weight of buried secrets. "Too early to say. But your reappearance just sent a ripple through every shadow cell from Langley to Ankara. People remember you, Dolores. Some of them were hoping you stayed buried." She stood. "Well, I didn't." Hardin nodded almost imperceptibly. "We're reopening Black Hangar. You'll be read in. That includes full reinstatement. If you want it." She hesitated. The weight of those words hit like G-force. Reinstatement. A return to the skies not just as a ghost, but as a name again. "I want to know who sent that plane," she said. "And I want a squadron. Not rookies. Operators. Ones who know how to vanish." "You'll get it," Hardin said. She turned to leave. "One more thing, Captain." She paused. "Your janitor clearance ended 20 minutes ago. But your old code name? It just lit up every security net in Europe. Be ready." By sunset, Dolores was back inside the forgotten belly of Black Hangar. Once classified, now reawakened. It smelled of oil, metal, and unspoken history. Rows of old warbirds sat in various stages of modification, some stripped for testing, others rebuilt for operations that would never see headlines. As she walked past each machine, the memories surged like afterburner trails. The dogfights, the fire, the silence that followed when you lost someone and had to fly anyway. Colonel Grant was already there, arms crossed, watching her. "Welcome back. They giving me a desk?" she asked. "Only if it launches at Mach 2. They shared a small, grim smile. "Intel confirmed something about that unidentified jet," Grant said. "It was running a signature trace on you, not just the base. Someone knew you were here. Then it wasn't coincidence." "No." "And get this, the pilot used an old coalition air pattern. Disbanded unit. You recognized the name." He handed her a scrap of paper. On it was a call sign, Jackal 0. Dolores felt the blood drain from her face. That was Kane's unit, she whispered. Thought he was dead. So did I. I buried the intel myself. If Jackal Zero's alive, then Ghost Echo wasn't the end. She stared at the far end of the hangar, where a dark jet gleamed under floodlights. We've got work to do, she said. That night, Dolores couldn't sleep. In the bunk they'd reassigned her inside Black Hangar's deep quarters, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of power flowing through underground systems not meant to exist on any map. Her dreams were fractured pieces of flame, voices distorted by radio static, and the faintest outline of a man she'd buried more than a decade ago, Kane. He had saved her once, then betrayed her. At 0420, she rolled out of bed, suited up, and walked into the flight sim chamber where the lights were always low and the memory of battle was always alive. She booted up the sim core, plugged in her old flight data, and initiated a dogfight scenario with Ghost Echo coordinates. Enemy aircraft. 1. Configuration. Unknown. Objective. Survive. She flew for hours. When the door opened again, a new face stood there. A woman. Mid-30s. Short blonde buzz cut. Lean frame, sharp eyes. Captain Hayes? I'm Reese. The one you pulled from the sea. Dolores stood. The two women stared at each other for a long moment. You fly well, Dolores said finally. Reese gave a tight nod. You fly better. And I'd like to learn. Dolores studied her, then said, You ever disobeyed a direct order to save someone? Yes. Court-martialed. Reprimanded. Still here. Then you're on the list. Reese frowned. What list? The ones who disappear. The ones who operate in the black. Reese hesitated, then nodded. Dolores turned back to the sim. Grab a seat. Let's see if you can keep up. For the next 3 hours, they flew in tandem. Dolores showed her split-second maneuvers, evasive banking, radar tricks even CIA programs never documented. Reese was sharp, scared sometimes, but not soft. By the time they landed virtually, Reese looked pale but wired. You think Jackal Zero is coming back? She asked. No, Dolores said. He's already here. Black Hangar buzzed to life like a dormant beast awakening. The reintegration of Captain Dolores Hayes wasn't just symbolic. It was strategic. And somewhere in the vast shadow network of unofficial operations, whispers had begun. Whispers of Nightshade returned. She sat alone in the mission chamber now, watching a grainy satellite loop play over and over. An unidentified aircraft, tail blurred, but movement precise, too precise. Reese entered silently, a folder in hand. Intercept from Ankara base, 48 hours ago, she said. Same stealth pattern, same evasion protocol. No engagement. Dolores nodded. They're testing more than our defenses. They're watching me. It's personal. Reese hesitated. You think it's Kane? Dolores exhaled slowly. If it is, he's not flying rogue. He's leading something bigger, something buried, something we left unfinished. She tapped a blinking icon on the map. We've got chatter out of Montenegro. An old refueling station pinged a dead frequency, one linked to Ghost Echo. We need eyes on it. Reese grinned. You want me to suit up? I want you to vanish. Get there. Photograph everything. Make no contact. We confirm Kane's alive and this escalates. Fast. Reese nodded and turned to leave. Reese, Dolores added. Don't get caught. If Kane's involved, he'll smell you a mile away. Hours later, Dolores stood on the edge of the tarmac as Reese lifted off in a modified recon jet. Her stomach twisted, not from fear, but from the weight of memories clawing to the surface. She turned back toward Black Hangar just as Colonel Grant approached, his expression grim. Signal trace from our deep net caught something, he said, handing her a secure tablet. On it, a decrypted message blinked like a heartbeat. Welcome back, Nightshade. Time to finish what we started. Jackal Zero. Dolores stared at the screen. Her jaw tightened. He wants me in the air, she said. Grant nodded. Then maybe it's time you remind the sky who you are. They waited for her on the tarmac. for figures in matte black flight suits, helmets tucked under arms, eyes sharp like razors honed by battle. Her new squadron, the ones who didn't exist on any record. Operators pulled from black projects, exile postings, or debts owed too steep for currency. Dolores walked toward them, the morning wind pressing her suit flat against her frame, dog tags clinking softly with each step. Colonel Grant stood beside the jet, a modified F-39 prototype, its nose sharp like a spear, wings curled back like claws. "This is Revenant 1. Dolores ran a hand along its side. "She looks angry." "She is," he said. "Just like you." The pilot closest to her stepped forward. Young, no more than 28. Female. Cold eyes, military bearing, but something about her trembled beneath the surface. "Call sign?" Dolores asked. "Wraith. Ever flown live ordnance against human targets?" "Wraith?" The woman nodded. "I was at Karakoram Ridge. We were told no survivors." That was a lie. Dolores met her eyes. "Then you know what ghosts carry. Welcome to the squad." They boarded their jets as the sun rose bloody red over the horizon. This wasn't an exercise. Intelligence had confirmed the source. The rogue jet that triggered her reveal had come from deep within the Arctic line, from a facility called Obsidian Reach, abandoned by NATO decades ago, now lit up with heat signatures, unmarked aircraft, and coded chatter matching Kane's last known encryptions. Dolores had been here before, in another life, before everything burned. Obsidian Reach sat buried beneath snow and silence. From the air, it looked like nothing. A black scar beneath ice, veined with frost and flanked by steep cliffs on either side. But as Revenant squadrons swept over it at high altitude, they could see the truth. Hangars, drones, heat readings, too many for an outpost. Multiple SAM systems online, Wraith said. Radar signature masking something bigger. Dolores keyed into the encrypted channel. "Mission is simple. Infiltrate. Find Kane. Stop whatever he's building. Destroy the evidence. Burn the ghost trail. We go in loud, we come out louder." "Revenant copies," they all responded. Then everything erupted. Missiles screamed from hidden turrets. The air filled with smoke and fire as flares popped. ECMs danced. And Dolores of Hard left, countering with a tight corkscrew that made her vision gray out for a second. Her training took over. Her pulse was steady. She wasn't the janitor now. She was Nightshade. "Wraith on me. Razor. Flank west," she barked. They weaved through the defenses like ghosts, dropping precision charges that split the ice open in flame and debris. The hangar doors burst wide, and Dolores could see it. The new fleet. A hybrid of Western and Eastern tech, sleek as sharks, painted matte like shadows. Kane had built an army. "They're launching," Razor shouted. 10 aircraft, automated systems. No humans on board. "AI drones," Dolores growled. "Get low. Get inside. Cut the cord." They dove through the yawning mouth of the hangar, landing hard, skidding across the metal floor. The fighters behind them were too wide to follow. Inside, the truth hit harder than G-forces. Cryogenic pods lined the walls. Soldiers, test subjects, names etched in glass. Some she knew, some she thought were dead. And standing in the center, wearing a flight suit trimmed in red and silver, was Kane. "Dolores," he said, voice like broken machinery. "You finally came home. This isn't home. It's a graveyard." "Not yet," he smiled. He pressed a button. The doors sealed shut. Gas hissed from the vents. Wraith screamed. Razor staggered. Dolores ripped her sidearm free and fired at the ceiling, setting off the oxygen line. Fire ripped through the gas, exploding across the chamber, throwing Kane backwards. She ran. Through flame. Through memory. Through 8 years of silence. Kane rose again, coughing, burned, face half blackened. "You should have died in Yemen," he spat. "You should have stayed dead," she replied and pulled the trigger. 3 rounds. Clean. Center mass. Kane fell. Outside, the hangar erupted as the chain reaction detonated the drone line. Wraith, wounded but walking, helped Razor to the evac point. Dolores stayed behind. Nightshade, you have to move, Wraith shouted. But Dolores was planting something. A core detonator. Modified. Tell Grant it ends here, she said. No more echoes. What about you? She smiled, just barely. I was a ghost long before they forgot me. She turned and vanished into the flame. 1 week later, Pentagon. Briefing room 5C. Colonel Grant stepped to the podium. Revenant Squadron neutralized Obsidian Reach. No civilian casualties. 1 operative Kia. Captain Dolores Hayes. He paused. There will be no memorial. Her records remain sealed. Her name remains unspoken in official documents. Then he looked up. But for those who flew with her, she was never a janitor. She was a blade in the dark. A ghost with fire in her veins. And she saved more lives in silence than most do in glory. He turned away. And outside, in the cold breeze, a fighter jet cut across the sky. Painted on its nose were the words, Nightshade Lives. Subscribe to Silent Stories, where the forgotten rise and the ghosts of history take flight again.